Have you ever found yourself asking why certain women appear to become more and more exasperated with their spouses as time progresses? It's a common situation that a great number of long-term partners face. A connection that once felt unbreakable can, over time, devolve into daily annoyance, quiet bitterness, or sometimes even open animosity. But what causes this to occur? Why is it that so many women, following decades of being married, find themselves feeling detached, worn out, or even resentful of the very man they once committed to sharing their life with? In this presentation, we will delve into the fundamental causes that lie behind this transformation, from changing emotional requirements to long years of unexpressed dissatisfaction. There are distinct patterns that lead marriages to slowly drift toward a state of tension. A lot of these shifts unfold gradually, so imperceptibly that neither partner is aware of what is unfolding until one day, the affection has vanished, supplanted by bitterness, frustration, or perhaps even remorse. But this is the reality. Gaining insight into these patterns can assist you in perceiving matters with greater clarity, whether in your own marriage or that of someone you know. And by identifying these indicators, there remains an opportunity to alter the trajectory, to re-establish a bond, and to cultivate a relationship that feels satisfying once more. Stay with me right up to the conclusion, because the underlying reasons for this change may take you by surprise. These are not merely grievances or fleeting annoyances. There are more profound psychological and emotional dynamics involved, ones that have been influencing relationships for years without individuals even noticing. By the time we conclude, you might see your own marriage, or even relationships from your past, in a completely different perspective. Before we start, if you are not yet a subscriber, I suggest you subscribe and activate the notification bell to ensure you never miss a video. If you find this video enjoyable, please indicate by typing a 1 in the comments section. If you dislike it, type a 0 in the comments to inform me so I can create improved videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Decades of emotional labor without recognition. One of the most significant factors leading women to resent their husbands as they get older is the burden of emotional labor. This involves years of nurturing the relationship, overseeing the household, and looking after the family, frequently without any form of acknowledgement or gratitude. Emotional labor extends beyond physical duties, like preparing food or tidying the house. It encompasses the invisible cognitive and emotional effort that keeps a marriage intact. This includes remembering birthdays, managing family agendas, acting as the peacemaker in disagreements, and consistently making sure that the needs of everyone else are addressed. These duties disproportionately land on women. And after decades shouldering this weight, exhaustion begins to take hold. Many men operate under the assumption that because they provided financially, they fulfilled their role. However, a marriage involves much more than just financial contribution. It is about participation, about being present emotionally, and about making a woman feel appreciated for all that she contributes. If a woman devotes decades to managing everything, raising the children, running the home, upholding social commitments, and her husband fails to truly see or recognize that contribution, resentment quietly grows. Consider someone like Carol, a 72-year-old retired educator. For many years, she juggled raising 3 children, working a full-time job, and ensuring her husband's life operated without a hitch. Every holiday, she organized the feasts. For every birthday, she chose the presents. She kept track of medical appointments, cultivated friendships for the two of them, and made certain that life felt orderly and pleasant. But upon reflection, she understood something profound. No one had ever reciprocated that for her. Her husband had never once inquired if she could use some help or expressed thanks for her efforts. And now, decades down the line, she no longer felt love, she felt depleted. What makes emotional labor so exasperating is its invisibility. A woman can dedicate her entire marriage to making sure everything operates smoothly, and if her husband never recognizes that work, he will never grasp why she has become distant or bitter. It isn't that she abruptly changed. It's that she simply hit her breaking point. There is also the matter of how appreciation evolves over time. In the initial years of a marriage, minor gestures might have sufficed. "Hey, thank you. Here, a compliment there." But after decades together, if a husband presumes that his wife will perpetually handle everything without any effort from him, he fosters a dynamic where she feels more like a manager than an equal partner. And once that sentiment takes root, love begins to wane, replaced by frustration and emotional fatigue. The reality is that women do not just wake up one morning and choose to resent their husbands. Resentment is constructed through small instances over many years of feeling invisible. And if a woman feels her emotional contributions have been overlooked for decades, it is perfectly logical for her to start to withdraw. If this situation seems familiar to you, or if you have ever felt unappreciated in your relationship, you are far from being alone. This is an experience many women have, often without even being aware of it, until many years have gone by. Number 2. Feeling more like a housemate than a spouse. As time marches on, numerous women start to feel as though they are cohabitating with a housemate instead of a husband. And this transformation can be incredibly distressing. In the beginning stages of a marriage, there is often thrill, passion, and a profound emotional link. But over time, if the partners cease investing effort into the relationship, the romance diminishes, and what remains is a partnership that feels more like two individuals merely coexisting in the same dwelling. For many women, this alteration is not sudden, it is a gradual process. Initially, it might be just a couple of date nights missed, or a deficiency in profound conversations. Then, routines solidify. The same daily schedules, the same behavioral patterns, the same superficial exchanges, until one day, she comes to the realization that she and her husband are no longer genuinely connected. They might share meals, they might watch television in the same living room, but the intimacy has vanished. She no longer feels wanted, no longer feels acknowledged. She feels like a roommate, not a wife. Consider someone like Linda, a 69-year-old retired nurse. In the early phase of her marriage, she and her husband shared laughter, enjoyed long strolls, and discussed their aspirations. But over the years, the conversations became briefer. He ceased asking about her day. He dedicated more time to watching TV or just sitting in silence. Eventually, they started leading parallel lives, together, yet worlds apart. The most painful aspect was that he did not even perceive the change. In his view, nothing was different. But for Linda, everything had transformed. This shift occurs in an untold number of marriages, because many men presume that once married, the hard work is finished. They hold the belief that simply being physically present at home is sufficient, forgetting that relationships demand continuous effort to flourish. What they fail to grasp is that when a woman feels emotionally disconnected for an extended period, it does not just induce loneliness, it cultivates resentment. Women require emotional intimacy just as intensely as physical intimacy. They need to feel desired, valued, and involved in meaningful dialogue. A husband who stops making an effort, who no longer flirts, who refrains from complimenting, who ceases to show sincere interest, gradually morphs into someone his wife resents. Because when a woman ceases to feel desired, she starts to ask herself, "What is my purpose here?" Another sorrowful reality is that many women attempt to remedy this before they resign. They raise the issue, they articulate their needs, they request more connection, more affection, more attention. But if those pleas are disregarded, if they are met with apathy, then slowly, but surely, she gives up asking. And once a woman stops attempting to reconnect, the emotional chasm becomes permanent. If this speaks to you, you are not by yourself. Many women endure this, feeling the heaviness of an emotional void they never anticipated in their marriage. If you are continuing to watch this video and find these insights meaningful, please comment with the number 2 below to show me you're engaged. Your participation encourages me to keep creating content that provides support and inspiration for you. Number 3. Unaddressed conflicts that have accumulated over time. One of the most destructive causes of resentment in women toward their husbands as they age is the buildup of unresolved disputes. Minor disagreements, letdowns, and emotional injuries that were never fully resolved do not simply vanish with time. Instead, they accumulate, forming layers of frustration that evolve into deep-seated bitterness. Many couples adopt the practice of sidestepping issues rather than addressing them. Perhaps it begins with minor incidents, a dismissive remark, a forgotten anniversary, a dispute left unresolved. Initially, a woman might dismiss it, believing it is not worth arguing over. But as the years pass, these small disappointments begin to stack up. A missed apology here, an unfulfilled expectation there, and soon enough, she recognizes that her husband has hurt her in countless small ways. While none of these instances were significant enough to end the marriage individually, collectively, they forge a distance that feels insurmountable. Consider someone like Patricia, a 74-year-old retired accountant. She had been married for more than 4 decades, and to an outsider, her marriage looked solid. But internally, she harbored years of resentment. She recalled every instance her feelings were brushed aside, every time her needs were downplayed, every occasion her husband made a promise he failed to keep. She had voiced her frustrations before, but they were consistently dismissed with statements like, "You're being overly emotional," or, "That was so long ago, why are you bringing it up now?" Over time, she ceased arguing, stopped hoping for change, and no longer viewed her husband as someone who genuinely cared for her emotions. This pattern is exceedingly common. Many women hold on to hurt because they never found closure. And when a man persistently ignores or belittles his wife's concerns, he conveys the message, whether he means to or not, that her feelings are unimportant. That form of emotional neglect fosters resentment more than anything else. Another perilous outcome of unresolved conflict is how it alters a woman's perception of her husband. At the start of a marriage, there is love, respect, and a feeling of partnership. But when disputes are never truly settled, these positive emotions begin to erode. A woman who once considered her husband her closest companion may now see him as someone who simply doesn't pay attention, someone who trivializes her needs, someone who, over the years, has become more of a foe than a partner. The worst part is that many men are completely unaware this is happening. They assume that if she isn't arguing, then everything must be okay. They confuse silence with tranquility, when in fact, silence is frequently a signal that a woman has given up trying to make herself heard. If you have ever felt as though your frustrations have been ignored for years, if you have found yourself thinking, "Why should I even try to bring it up?" then understand that you are not alone. This is something that countless women go through. Number 4, a change in priorities that leaves her feeling unfulfilled. As women get older, their personal priorities and aspirations often transform in ways that their husbands either fail to recognize or do not adjust to. What might have once been a satisfying life, raising children, managing a household, or backing a spouse's career, can begin to feel like a completed chapter. Many women arrive at a point where they desire something more, be it a more profound emotional bond, personal development, or a newfound sense of autonomy. But when their husbands stay fixed in the same old patterns, oblivious to these shifts, it generates a painful rift. For many years, numerous women set aside their own ambitions and necessities for the benefit of their families. They concentrate on raising children, ensuring stability, and making certain everyone else's needs are met. But after the children are grown, and the household no longer demands the same degree of focus, they look around and sense that something is absent. And if their husbands have not evolved with them, if they continue to expect the same dynamic as in their younger years, it leaves many women feeling stuck in a life that no longer brings them fulfillment. Take someone like Helen, a 68-year-old retired librarian. For decades, her attention was centered on her family. She assisted with school assignments, organized family holidays, and invested immense energy into creating a warm and inviting home. But now, in her retirement, she found herself yearning for new experiences. She wanted to see the world, join community groups, and take up hobbies she never had the chance to pursue. Her husband, however, was perfectly content to spend every evening in front of the television, showing no interest in trying anything new. Each time she proposed doing something different, he would brush it off, stating, "I'm content with how things are." What he failed to see was that she was not. This is the point where resentment takes root. A woman who has dedicated her life to putting others first begins to see that no one is reciprocating for her. She starts to long for a life that feels meaningful. But if her husband is unwilling to participate, to grow alongside her, she starts to view him as a barrier rather than a partner. And that change in perspective is what transforms mild frustration into something far more profound. The problem is not merely that priorities shift. It is that many fail to acknowledge that shift until it is too late. They presume their wives will always be satisfied playing the role they have played for years, failing to recognize that she now wants more from life. When a woman feels she is outgrowing her marriage while her husband stays stagnant, it creates a level of disconnection that is nearly impossible to overcome unless a genuine effort is made. Aging should be a period of fresh opportunities, not just routine and repetition. When women feel they are continuing to grow, but their husbands have ceased to, the resentment is not just about tedium. It is about feeling constrained from living the life they now desire. If this resonates with you, if you have ever felt your priorities have changed while your husband is stuck in his old ways, know that you are not alone. This is an experience many women have as they age. If you are still engaged with this video and find these points valuable, please leave a comment with the number 4 below to let me know you are here. Your feedback helps me continue to produce content that supports and empowers you. Number 5. A deficiency of emotional and physical affection. One of the most heart-wrenching reasons women become resentful of their husbands in their later years is the gradual yet unmistakable disappearance of both emotional and physical tenderness. While every marriage naturally evolves over time, when affection completely vanishes, it leaves many women feeling profoundly unwanted, unloved, and detached from the person they once felt the most intimate connection with. At the start of a relationship, there is frequently warmth, hugs, kisses, and small gestures of love that make a woman feel treasured. But as the years roll by, many husbands become complacent, forgetting that affection is not merely a stage of marriage. It is essential for keeping love vibrant. For some women, the moment they grasped that things had shifted was not a major conflict or a dramatic event. It was simply the slow dawning realization that the gentle touches, the thoughtful praises, and the playful banter had all ceased to exist. Consider someone like Sharon, a 71-year-old retired secretary. She reminisced about when she and her husband would hold hands during their walks, when he would rest a gentle hand on her back as they spoke, when he would embrace her warmly just for the sake of it. But now, he hardly glanced at her in the same manner. Conversations had become logistical discussions about finances or chores. When they sat on the sofa together, they seemed to be miles apart. She had raised the issue once, telling him, "I miss how things were between us." His reply was, "We're too old for all that now." And in that moment, she understood that he did not perceive a problem at all. What many men fail to comprehend is that affection is not solely about romance. It is about emotional reassurance. Women do not cease wanting to feel beautiful, to feel cherished, to feel that they are important. When a husband stops demonstrating affection, it does not just make a woman feel lonesome. It makes her feel invisible. And that is one of the most profound injuries a marriage can inflict. There is also the matter of how physical intimacy evolves with age. Many couples experience phases where desire naturally changes, particularly with health issues or transforming bodies. But what many women resent is not the reduction in physical intimacy itself, but the absence of effort to remain emotionally connected. A husband who ceases to show affection in minor ways, who no longer offers compliments, who never initiates warmth, gradually crafts a marriage where his wife no longer feels like a woman, but merely a cohabitant. And here is the difficult truth: women do not simply adjust to this, they begin to resent it. They resent that their needs have been disregarded. They resent that their emotional yearnings have been dismissed. They resent that they still long for connection, but their husband has concluded that affection is no longer required. Many women attempt to address this before they give up. They hint at desiring more closeness. They mention the lack of affection. They express their sorrow. But if these concerns are waved away, ignored, or met with laughter, then eventually they cease to ask. And when a woman stops asking for love, it is not because she no longer desires it. It is because she has accepted that she is not going to receive it. And that realization slowly extinguishes whatever feelings she had remaining. If this resonates with you, if you have ever experienced the painful solitude of a love that no longer feels like love, know that you are not alone. This is something many women go through as they get older, often in silence. Number 6. The feeling of being taken for granted. One of the most profound origins of resentment within a long-term marriage is the sensation of being taken for granted, of giving, sacrificing, and expressing love for decades, only to feel as though it is no longer seen or valued. Over time, many women come to realize that the actions they once performed out of love, preparing meals, remembering significant dates, supporting their husband through life's hurdles, have transformed into expectations rather than cherished gestures of care. And when that appreciation vanishes, so does the warmth within a marriage. At the outset of a relationship, there is often gratitude. A husband might say, "Thank you for making this delicious dinner. I really appreciate everything you do for me." But as the years go by, many husbands cease to acknowledge these daily contributions, simply assuming that their wife will always handle these things. That transition, from being appreciated to being expected, gradually turns love into bitterness. Consider someone like Nancy, a 72-year-old retired school principal. For years, she had managed her household without a word of complaint. She ensured her husband's favorite dishes were always on the table. She kept the house tidy. She scheduled appointments, and she handled all the small details that made their lives run smoothly. But as time went on, she began to notice something he never said, "Thank you," anymore. When she made a special effort to do something thoughtful, it was met with nothing but silence, as if it were simply her duty. One evening, after dedicating hours to preparing a special meal, she sat down, looked at her husband, and inquired, "Do you even see how much I do for you?" His reply was a bewildered shrug. That was the instant she realized he had completely stopped seeing her efforts. This sensation of being invisible within one's own marriage is utterly devastating. When a woman dedicates years to giving and giving without ever getting acknowledgement or reciprocity in return, it wears her down. And after a sufficient amount of time, she no longer has the desire to give at all. The fundamental issue is not just that men stop demonstrating appreciation. It is that many of them do not even realize the full extent of what their wives do in the first place. A woman who has spent her life managing the intricacies of a household, remembering birthdays, emotionally supporting her husband, and holding the relationship together might appear fine externally. But internally, she may feel depleted, drained, and utterly unseen. And here is the part many men do not grasp. Resentment does not arise from one major incident. It develops from 1,000 small instances of feeling unappreciated. When a woman no longer feels valued, she begins to pull back emotionally. She does not laugh as often. She stops initiating conversation. She ceases to do the small things she once did with love. Not as a way to punish her husband, but because she simply has nothing more to offer. What many husbands fail to understand is that appreciation does not require a grand gesture. A simple "thank you," an occasional "I see how hard you work," or even an unexpected compliment can make a woman feel loved and noticed. But when those words vanish entirely, so does the emotional bond. If you have ever felt like you are giving endlessly, without receiving any gratitude, if you have ever wondered if your husband even notices all that you do, know that your feelings are entirely valid. Many women endure this silent struggle, questioning if their efforts even make a difference anymore. If you are still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment with the number 6 below to let me know you're here. Your engagement truly helps me continue creating content that supports and uplifts you. Number 7. The realization that they have grown apart. One of the most poignant reasons women start to resent their husbands as they age is the dawning awareness that they have simply drifted in separate directions, that the man with whom they once shared dreams and laughter now feels like a complete stranger. This does not occur suddenly. It happens gradually over years of routine, neglect, and a failure to make an effort to remain emotionally connected. Then one day, a woman looks at her husband and wonders, "Who is this person? And how did we arrive at this point?" Many marriages begin with a profound connection. Long discussions, shared aspirations, and the feeling of being true partners in life. But as the years pass, life intervenes. Careers, children, responsibilities, and stress begin to dominate. And if a couple does not make a deliberate effort to grow in unison, they will inevitably grow apart. For many women, the initial indicator of this shift is a lack of substantive conversation. They recognize that they and their husbands no longer talk as they once did. Certainly, they might discuss practical matters, bills, family arrangements, daily schedules, but the deeper connection has vanished. The curiosity about each other's inner worlds has faded. She might attempt to raise a topic of importance, but instead of participating, he dismisses it with brief, indifferent replies. Over time, she gives up trying. Consider someone like Margaret, a 74-year-old retired social worker. When she and her husband were younger, they would talk late into the night about their hopes, their anxieties, and their plans for the future. But now, their conversations had become superficial. When she inquired about his thoughts on a significant matter, he would merely grunt in acknowledgement or steer the conversation back to the news on television. When she tried to discuss her own personal growth or interests, he barely paid attention. And that was when she realized she was living with someone who no longer truly knew her. This emotional disconnect becomes even more agonizing when women perceive that their husbands do not seem to be bothered by it. While they feel the loneliness acutely, many men carry on as if nothing is amiss. They assume that as long as there is no major conflict, everything must be satisfactory. But for a woman, emotional disconnection is just as painful as a full-blown argument. It makes her feel isolated, invisible, and profoundly alone within her own marriage. Another common realization is that they no longer share common interests. Over the years, many women cultivate new passions, hobbies, or perspectives, while their husbands stay exactly the same. She might want to travel, learn a new skill, or engage in deep philosophical discussions. But if her husband is unwilling to evolve with her, she starts to feel confined in a marriage that no longer enriches her life. The most painful part is that many women mourn the marriage they once had. They remember the man who used to make them laugh, who would hold their hand instinctively, who cared about their thoughts and dreams. But when that version of their husband vanishes, they are left with someone who is physically present, but emotionally absent. And that absence is what breeds resentment. Here is the reality: love is not something that simply exists. It is something that must be actively nurtured. And when a husband stops investing effort, stops learning about his wife, stops choosing to remain emotionally connected, he gradually becomes a stranger in his own home. If this speaks to you, if you have ever felt the silent heartbreak of realizing that you and your husband have become distant, know that you are not alone. Many women experience this, often wondering if they are the only ones feeling this way. If you are still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment with the number 6 below to let me know you're here. Your feedback helps me continue creating content that celebrates and empowers you. Final thoughts. So, as we conclude this video, take a moment to consider what we have discussed. Many women do not abruptly wake up one morning and resent their husbands. This feeling develops over years of unspoken frustrations, unmet emotional needs, and the slow realization that they are no longer being seen, heard, or valued. It is not always about significant betrayals or dramatic conflicts. It is often the small, consistent letdowns that erode a marriage over time. But here is the crucial thing to remember. Resentment does not signify that love is gone. It signifies that something must change. Many women feel trapped in silence, believing that their emotions are too intricate to articulate, or that it is too late to confront these issues. However, it is never too late to engage in honest conversations, to demand appreciation, to reignite a lost connection, or even to select a new path forward, whatever that might look like for you. If you see yourself in any of these descriptions, understand that your feelings are valid. You are not alone in this experience. Countless women have navigated the exact same emotional journey and have emerged stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. The key is to recognize that you are deserving of feeling valued in your relationship. You always have been, and you always will be. Now, I would be delighted to hear from you. Which of these points resonated with you the most? Have you ever encountered this kind of shift in your own marriage? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely appreciate reading your experiences and insights. Thank you for being with us today. We would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you intend to apply it in your life. Your thoughts are valuable to us, so please do not hesitate to share them. Reading your comments provides us with great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it beneficial, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating quality content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.